Department of Homeland Security, and the Senate vote on the nomination without intervening action or debate.
Is there objection?
Mr. President,
The senator from Florida.
reserving the right to object, I want to make one thing very clear. I'm here today to ensure accountability to the American people. I voted to support Ms. Easterly's confirmation in committee last week, and if Senator Schumer filed for cloture like he has done for dozens of other nominees, this year I would vote to support her confirmation here on the Senate floor. This isn't about Ms. Easterly. This isn't about cybersecurity. Remember, we just unanimously confirmed the National Cyber Director just last week. I'm here today because families in my state of Florida and across our nation deserve accountability, and President Biden has shown a total lack of accountability when it comes to addressing the border crisis. That's why I announced last month that I would be holding all of President Biden's nominees for the Department of Homeland Security from being approved through our expedited process until he and Vice President Harris visit the border and they see for themselves the crisis that their failed policies of open borders and amnesty have created. I understand the White House just announced that Vice President Harris will be visiting the border later this week. I hope that's true. The administration has made a lot of promises that they haven't kept, like not raising taxes, reopening schools quickly, being tough on Communist China. The list goes on and on. Trust me, I'm glad the Vice President seems to be taking my advice and finally listening to the American people. I truly hope that she gets down to the border to see the crisis firsthand that her administration and their failed policies have created. I hope she meets with the National Border Patrol Council, hear from them what our brave CBP agents are going through every day to keep us safe. I hope she meets with border community sheriffs who are responsible for keeping our families safe. I hope she meets with ICE and CBP section chiefs so she can hear firsthand the impact on them. I hope she takes an aerial tour like I did and sees the gaps in the wall. I hope she sees where the lights and cameras are sitting, powerless, without electricity, and unable to be used to monitor our border. I hope she meets with families who have been the victims of trafficking and hears the horrific stories they have, what they've been through because of this crisis. I hope she visits border communities that have been put in a position to house and care for the historic number of people illegally crossing our border. I hope she talks with families who have tragically lost loved ones from the massive amounts of fentanyl that the cartels are moving across our border. I hope she talks to the ranchers impacted by people illegally crossing their lands. More than anything, I hope this isn't a political stunt. If she truly goes to see this crisis, I'm going to lift all my holds of DHS political nominees. It's that simple. What's happening at the border is a crisis. There is simply no other word for it. It's been 3 months since I traveled to the southern border to see exactly how President Biden's open borders and amnesty policies are wreaking havoc. I took a tour with Governor Ducey. We did an aerial tour. What you see is a wall, and then all of a sudden these openings. They intentionally didn't put up the gates. I remember my colleagues were saying, oh, we don't all need the wall. We can have lights and cameras so that they can monitor from someplace else. They're out there. They're just not hooked up to electricity intentionally. You can't make this stuff up. It's been 3 months since I made clear that President Biden and Vice President Harris need to get to the border and see the crisis that their administration has created. It's been 3 months since they pledged to visit the border. Since then, as you all know, you look at all the numbers, apprehensions at our southern border are at a record high. More than 180,000 illegal aliens tried to cross our southern border last month and were apprehended, the highest in 21 years. This is a crisis. It threatens our national security and the safety of American families. And we don't know how many people we didn't apprehend. President Biden's immigration policies are putting unaccompanied minors at risk of human trafficking, violence, sexual abuse, and separation from their families. They're leading to an alarming increase in human trafficking and drug smuggling by cartels. The FBI Director Wray said this month there is no question that cartel activity from Mexico is spilling over into the United States. We're seeing it here in Florida. I talked to sheriffs. What they're telling me is unbelievable amounts of fentanyl are coming across the border and getting into our state, putting Florida families in danger. I was down in one lab, and they were telling me that 2 people died that week from fentanyl. But instead of securing the border and finishing wall construction projects, President Biden is terminating all of the wall projects. Why would you be doing this? The inaction by President Biden and Vice President Harris is inexcusable. I don't know what they're waiting for. Why can't they acknowledge that a secure border is the best thing for our nation. If you talk to people around this country, they want a secure border. Why can't they stand up against the radical left to say that open borders are dangerous to American families? 2 weeks ago, the Vice President went to Guatemala and Mexico. While she was there, she was asked by Lester Holt when she was going to go to the border, and she laughed. I mean, this is not a laughing matter. I mean, this is a crisis, and people are dying because of this crisis. It should make all of us furious. People are dying, children are being exploited, and they're being abandoned in the desert. Earlier this year, 2 Ecuadorian children, 2 little girls, 3 and 5 years old, were dropped over a 14-foot section of the border wall. We all saw the pictures. They were abandoned there in the middle of the night. 2 innocent little girls, just 3 and 5 years old. Can you imagine how terrified they were? I mean, I think of my daughters, I think of my grandchildren. We all do. We all think how would our family deal with that? It just breaks your heart. The Vice President claims the Vice President's trip was down to Guatemala, Mexico, was to talk about the root cause of the immigration. I don't believe that. The Vice President's trip wasn't any more than a poorly executed political stunt. President Biden and Vice President Harris need to stop avoiding the crisis, stop laughing off this threat, get to the border, take real steps. And as I said, once they actually go to the border and actually see the crisis, I'm going to lift my holds. This is all to make sure they go to the border. But as long as they refuse to help those risking their lives every day to keep us safe, as long as they refuse to visit the border and put an end to the humanitarian crisis that they created, I'm going to keep my holds on. Those two little girls and all the people that have been trafficked, they deserve better. The millions of immigrants in our country going through a legal process, they deserve better. Our Border Patrol agents, they deserve better. All American families deserve better. Therefore, I object.
The objection is heard. The Senator from Michigan.
Mr. President,